As I bent down, trying to take a closer look inside of the box, and see if there was anything more to it, all I could find was the 6 vials contained within it, each one containing another fluorescent fluid, like the one that the doctor had, except this one didn't have a blue glow. Rather, there was a slight white light, a dim white glow that emanated from each of the tubes. I walked over to one of the workbenches, placing the box down, and grasping the piece of paper, lifting it from the box and unfolding it. The contents actually surprised me somewhat. The piece of paper had what amounted to detailed instructions on what to do with the 6 glass vials, as well as a short note written to me. As I began to read the note, I tried forming an image of the person writing it in my mind, trying to suss out exactly the type of person they were from what they were writing. And it read as such: "Hello, Jax. I know that you most likely have plenty of questions. What's with the vials? Why the different colors? Am I gonna live? My answer is, just don't worry about it. You're not gonna die anytime soon. Not if I have anything to say about it. You, Jax, have a destiny to fulfill. I'm sure you're all amped up for the Black Label races, but I assure you, they are not what you should really be concerned about. There are bigger and more important things going on. But these races are instrumental, but only because your victory brings you closer to the truth, to your eventual destiny, your own story that you must write for yourself, just as I wrote mine. Unfortunately, I must say that my own story is one of defeat. I was unsuccessful in achieving the goals that I had set forth, and so I needed to assure that the work would be done. That when all was said and done, my failure would not simply amount to my death. The death of a defeated man unable to achieve his dreams or goals. And so, I began work to pass on the legacy of my goals to the only person that I could trust to see them through to the end. You may not trust me, Jax, but I trust you implicitly. I have no doubt that you will take what I give you, and you will make the absolute best of it. But do not think this is the end. The path ahead of you is filled with many challenges. This alone will not be enough to surmount them. It is only the first step, and there are many more to come. But in the end, Jax, I can only pray that you achieve the success that I could not." And that was the end of the letter, with a very simple signature, signed, "The Believer." After that, all there were the instructions. According to them, the blue vial that the doctor was holding on to was to be injected into an advanced electronic system capable of holding an AI directly into the circuitry panel, and that it would simply do the rest. As far as the 6 white vials, each one of them came with a small strap. According to the instructions, all I need do is affix them to my body at specific points. 4 of them went to my limbs, 1 for each leg, 1 for each arm. They could be affixed anywhere on them, so long as they were on that limb. The 5th vial had somewhat of a stick section to it. It was to be adhered to the center of my chest, where my heart was. And the last one was to be affixed to the back of my neck, at the brain stem. Once all 6 vials were affixed properly, they would simply activate themselves. But to be sure to inject the blue vial into the electronic system first, as they wouldn't activate until then. I took a deep breath and started to affix the vials. Okay, Doc, you're gonna need to put that stuff into the bike. There's a section around the center of the bike where most of the computer hardware is. According to the instructions, that's the right place to put it. That's where the artificial intelligence program would be, if it were still in there. According to the instructions, that's Titan serum, A45. And the white vials are Jack serum, B38. Those seem like incredibly specific names, but I hardly think it matters. A death gamble's a death gamble. So, let's get to it. Oh, and guys, remember, I become a vegetable, the Doc becomes dead. Don't flake out on me on that. I don't want that bastard chuckling off after I die, if that's what happens. Oh, don't worry so much. I hardly think you're going to die here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have put my life on the line, the doctor said, reaching in where I told him to, finding a latch entry for the computer systems for the bike, and placing the vial inside of it. Pressing a small button on the back, and with that, the vial slowly began to empty out into the computer system. It only took a second or two to finish emptying out. After that, the only thing left was to finish affixing these white vials and hope for the best. I was down to the last one. The one that goes on my spinal stem, the stem to my brain, access point for all information, somewhere that I know quite well, because if it gets damaged, you're basically either a vegetable or you're dead. Hoping for neither one of those, I thought to myself, as I fixed it. And as I did, I expected the results to be immediate, even flinching a bit. But to my surprise, nothing seemed to be happening, at least for the first few seconds. And then I felt a warm sensation, right where all of the vials were placed. Each one of the vials had a metal end to it, which I assumed was simply part of the seal. But as if something out of comic book or some sci-fi horror movie, those metal ends began to change, shifting their shape, and before I knew it, forming little latches, latching themselves to my body, directly into my skin. It felt like being bitten. For a moment I had to resist the impulse just to rip them off, but I'd rather not mess with this possibly very delicate process. So I managed to stave it off, and it wasn't more than a second or so after that I began to see the vials emptying out. I could only surmise that they had punctured their way into me, and now that glowing white serum was entering my body, with no information on what to expect, or what it would really do. The only thing I could do was wait and see. The seconds ticked by after the vials finally emptied themselves out, and once again, where I would have expected some sort of immediate reaction, I didn't seem to feel anything at all until I suddenly got hit with a wave of dizziness and disorientation, like nothing I'd ever experienced before. I just don't know how to place it. Feeling like up was down and left was right. Like all of my senses suddenly became jumbled in some mix that I couldn't interpret. What the hell was this?